I am well aware that every single one of you in this room is more than capable of doing what I am about to do. You can all do this in your sleep. Read. Surface area of a cone. 2. Write the formula. SA equals pi r squared plus pi r slant. And then you can fill in the numbers. Surface area is 1,200 equals pi, radius of 5 squared plus pi times 5 s. I know you can do that and get s by itself. I already know that. What I want you to do is not that. I want you to write out the formula SA equals pi r squared plus pi rs and manipulate it so the s is alone with no numbers. Do you understand what I am saying? I want to see this, but with s by itself. Then we're going to put in our numbers. Does everybody understand? In the real world and on a math test, I don't care which one you do. But this is a skill that you will behoove you in chemistry, physics, and further math to be able to do this without numbers. Okay? Go. If you finish one, go on to number 2. Do the same thing. Manipulate the equation with variables only, then plug in your numbers instead of doing it the other way around. And then you can go up to, you will need to stop at number 3. We will do 4 and 5 together. I don't feel very good today. I don't feel sick, but I don't feel good.
We could also snap instead of do math.
I don't know why. It's sunny. Sunny all week. I did stuff. Watched the Olympics. I should feel good. I don't know why I don't. All right. So what moves first here? See, that's what I told you not to do. It's exactly what I told you not to do. What's the first thing? What is my job? What do I need to get by itself? S. So where do I start? By S or far from S? Again, Jalem, if I was driving to Disneyland, would I start in Disneyland? I'm driving from Abbotsford to Disneyland. Do I start in Disneyland? I start in Abbotsford, which is very far away from Disneyland, yes? Okay, so if my job is to get to S by itself, should I start close to S or far away from S? There you go. What's the furthest thing away from S here? Pi r squared, right? Right? Now, pi r squared doesn't need to be isolated, does it? Pi r squared is going to give me a number, isn't it? That whole thing right there is going to give me a number, right? And it has to be a positive number, doesn't it? Because radius has to be a positive number, right? Okay, so if this is going to end up being a positive value, I'm going to say it's positive x. How would I get rid of positive x? I would minus x, which means I must have to subtract pi r squared from this side, yes? Even though it's multiply, multiply, the final answer is going to be a single positive number, right? So if I subtract pi r squared from this side, what has to happen from the left? Same thing. So now we're in the 10th grade, we're in an honors class. I'd like to start getting away from this, from writing it this way, minus pi r squared, like you learned in grade 5 or whenever you started algebra. I want you to start thinking of this, okay, that whole thing's got to come over here, yes? Because it's got to get away from the s. When you bring it over the equal sign, what happens to it? It becomes negative pi r squared. Now that equals, what's left over here? Pi r s, right? I'm left with that on the right. Now, what needs to be by itself? S, right? Because we're not moving the whole thing, we got to break this into pieces, right? What math is happening there and there? Multiply. What math gets rid of multiplying when you're doing division? So I got to divide that side by pi and r to get rid of them, yes? Now I'm going to have s by itself. So what do I got to do over here? Divide that whole thing by pi r. So SA equals, not equals, you idiot, minus pi r squared over pi r equals s. Now you can put your numbers in. Everybody cool? Now some of you are going to say to me, well, Mr. Myers, can't we cancel some right there? Can we?
No.
We cannot. Why?
It's r squared.
Well, even if it was r squared, you could still should be able to cancel one of them, right? Because that is just pi r over pi r. Shouldn't you be able to cancel the pi's and one of the r's? Yes or no?
Yes.
Some people are yes and some people are no. Can I or can't I?
What you asked, clearly not.
That's absolutely not true. That's a really poor way to think about it. Let me ask you this, though. If I gave you this, 3 plus 4 over 4, can you cancel the 4s?
No.
No, of course you can't. Because this is 7 over 4, isn't it? And 7 over 4 is 1 3/4, right? If you cancel those 4s, you're left with 3 over 1. Is 3 over 1 equal to 7/4? No. So you cannot cancel that way. Everybody with me? What if I add this? Pi r squared minus pi r. All of that over pi r. Now can I do canceling? Why? How is this different than this?
Because you use the formula to get to surface area. Because SA is just the variable for getting to the surface area.
Both have pi r. So this is technically pi r squared over pi r minus pi r over pi r. Right? Because if I were to put this together, they already have a common denominator. Everybody cool? Okay, so I can't do any canceling, even though it looks like I can. So now I can put in my numbers. What's my surface area?
1200.
1,200 minus pi r squared.
Pi 25.
25 pi over 5 pi equals the slant. Now, is that technically done?
No. Yeah.
Is it or isn't it? Am I happy with that? Does that tell me the slant height? You could simplify this, right? And you would have 1,200 over 5 pi minus 25 pi over 5 pi is 5, right? No, just 5, because the pi's cancel. Minus 5 will give me s. That's as simple as you could get it. But does that actually tell me the slant height? If I were to say to you, now draw me this cone, and you told, could you draw that? No, you need a number, don't you? So how would you find that? You would punch that into your calculator to get a final slant height. Everybody with me? Please notice these are two separate skills, right? There's the algebra to get to here, and then there's the knowledge of how you turn that into a workable slant height. Is everybody with me? All right, try the second one. Again, try to do it from the formula with no numbers. So I'm working with volume of a cylinder. So what's the formula for volume of a cylinder? It's the formula for every prism, area of base times the height. But the area of base, in this case, is a circle, so it's pi r squared h. Now I want the r. So that means I have to manipulate this until r is alone. How would you do so? Nobody should have reached for a calculator yet. Who would like to volunteer the first thing they should do? Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Trying to get r by itself, so what's got to move? I got to divide by pi h to get them out of there, yes? Which means I got to divide that side by pi h. So now I've got volume divided by pi h gives me r squared, yes? Is r by itself yet? No, it's squared. How do I get rid of a squared? Square root that side. So now r equals what? The square root of volume over pi h. Now, this is a little bit difficult to punch into your calculator, right? Everybody's going to have their own way to punch that in. But now I want you to try and do so. So let's put in our numbers. R equals the square root of 500 over 20 pi. Punch that into your calculator and see if you can get the right answer. I'm not going to write the right answer in yet. You can simplify that a little bit. Do you have to leave it like that? Or can I do something with 520? I can change that, can't I? Can I simplify that to 25 over pi? Yes, but then I have to do this math. This is difficult to do on your calculator simply because there's so many buttons to push, right? And if you forget brackets right there, are you going to get the right answer? You're not. Whereas over here, that's real easy, isn't it? There's no brackets, just 25 divided by pi. And then you square root your answer, which is what? .82. Is everybody good? Everybody good? Great. Go on to 3. Again, we're going to try it from the letters. I need the radius, so I need to get r alone. What's the first thing I should try and get rid of? 3. How do I get rid of this 3? What math is that 3 performing? So what do I do to get rid of it? Multiply times 3. So 3 volumes equals 4 pi r cubed. Now what? Divide by 4 pi. 3 volumes divided by 4 pi equals r cubed. How do I get rid of a cubed? Cube root. So I got to take the cubed root now. So cubed root of 3v over 4 pi equals r. Now this is also difficult to do on your calculator unless you happen to have a cube root button. Some of you do, some of you don't. I want to see if you can figure it out. Also, because I got to pee. Anybody else got an answer? Now, once again, I remind you, this is math. This over here is calculator skills. You're aware they are 2 different things, yes? With enough bananas, I can teach a monkey to get the right answer here. But no monkey can do algebra. Everybody understand? So a bunch of you get all up in arms that you can't get the right answer, and you think that it's because you can't do math. It's not. If you follow me to here, you're doing very high-level math. Okay? If you can't do this part, that's just like saying you can't finish the last mission of Call of Duty 12. It's different. Okay? This is the right answer. I have 12.1977, but now it comes down to how do you do it on your calculator? Well, if you're really good with your calculator and with brackets and everything, you can do this all in one step. And if you have a cube root button. Observe. On my calculator, I can go math. See, I got cube root right there, right? Cube root. Now, I got to get all this in there. I need brackets on the top. 3 times 7,602. Close brackets. Divided by, open brackets, because I need 4 pi to be together. Close brackets. Now, you can see that I have the cube root of everything under there, yes? Enter. Okay? I have a very high-end calculator, about the highest-end calculator you can get. So it allows me to do a lot of stuff. If you don't have a calculator like this, you're most likely going to have to work from inside out. So you're going to find this value, and then you're going to cube root your answer. So for most of you, you're going to need to do this. 3 times 7,602, and then get an answer. Divided by, now you're going to need this in brackets, 4 pi. It's got to be in brackets, or your calculator is going to divide by 4, and then multiply that answer by pi. Right? There. And now I need the cube root of that. Okay? Now, how do I find cube root if I don't have a cube root button? Look on your calculator right now for this button. X with the root sign by it. Or X with a 1 over Y as an exponent. Can everybody find one of those two buttons on their calculators? If you don't have a cube root button. Most of your calculators will probably have a cube root button somewhere. Is there anybody that doesn't have a cube root button? Okay, do you have the X root button?
Yeah, but it doesn't work.
No, it does work. I'm going to teach you how to work it. Do you have the X root button? Okay, so most of you, if you have the X root button, you're either going to push 3, then the X root button, then 1814 or whatever it was, I don't remember. Or you're going to push 1814 X root button 3. And that should get you 12.19. Check it. Whichever way works for you.
What if you have both, which is easier to do?
What do you mean if you have both? You have cube root and X root? We'll use cube root because you're doing a cube.
I'm so confused.
Why are you confused? If you have a button that does what you want to do, why wouldn't you use it? Well, Mr. Myers, I've got plus and I've got times and I've got to add things. What button do I push on my calculator? I don't know. The paper says I got to add 12 and 27, but I got all these buttons on my calculator. I don't know which one I want to push. I'm going to push 73 minus 87, and I'm not going to get the right answer. I don't know.
I generally don't know what button this thing has. It's my problem.
You want a cube root, so you would use the cube root button if you have it.
But it's not working. That's the thing.
Your cube root button's not working.
I tried it. See, I showed it to Amy. Did not get.
Punch in 1814 right now.
That one.
Just punch in 1814.
In the cube root.
No, just punch in 1814. 1814. Now hit the cube root button. 12.19.
No, it's going to show you this.
Okay, so now you've got to do it the other way around, like I said. So now you got to go 3. Or no, you got to hit cube root. Cube root button, then 1814. Then equals. I did give you 2 options, Lena. That's a lot of choices in this world, 2 options. You must have a lot of trouble when you were a kid reading those Choose Your Own Adventure books. Do you go left or right? I don't know!
No, this is just a Chinese version. I know the German one, but this one is confusing.
9!
Yes.
What is your answer?
12.
12.19. 12.2.
Why didn't it work before?
Because your calculator works this way.
No, but like it didn't work for the first like part of it, like the,
Up here,
yeah.
with your calculator right now, push open bracket.
That's the problem. I don't
Open
know.
bracket. First bracket, left-hand bracket, sad face bracket.
Yeah.
Put sad face bracket.
Yeah.
Now push 3 times 7602. Happy face bracket divided by sad face bracket 4 pi button. Happy face bracket equals 1814.
No.
Then you punch something in wrong. I will talk to you later. Of course I'm here at lunch. What's different with number 4? Why? What happens with number 4? To find A, what happens? H equals negative 4.9 t squared plus 12t plus A. I want A by itself, yes? So what has to happen to everything except A? It's got to move away, right? So I'm going to have H plus 4.9 t squared minus 12t equals A, right? Everyone agree? Okay. Now, what do I know? Given that H is 100. So what do I write right here instead of H?
You put it on the other side, say equals
100 plus 4.9 t squared minus 12t equals A. Can you solve that? Yes or no?
sure if you want.
Can you solve that? Yes or no? Exactly. Why can you not solve it?
Because
You have-
no t.
You don't know the time, right? You have 2 unknowns, so you cannot solve it. Does everybody follow me? That is the best we can do. You cannot tell me A unless I tell you how long we have been observing this projectile's flight, right? If I tell you at the very beginning, before I throw or before I shoot the projectile out of the cannon, before the human cannonball leaves the cannon, what is A? If the human cannonball hasn't left the cannon, what is the time of his flight?
0.
0. So what would be A?
It would be 4.9 t plus height or equals height, or I don't know.
No, we don't need time squared, so
it's plus
T equals what?
0.
0. So what is 0 squared? Times 4.9? 0. Minus 12 times 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. So what would A be? 100.
What the heck?
I know. If time was 0, you could tell me A. If time is 1, could you tell me A? If time is 2, could you tell me A? If time is 3, could you tell me A? If time is T, can you tell me A? No. Because you have 2 unknowns. Everybody understand? All right. Now, the next problem. Everybody gets to here and everyone's like, yeah, I got this. I understand it. I've just moved the formulas around. Which means everybody should be able to do algebra when it's not a formula, yes? Great. Find what x is. Which means x has to be by itself, and I've given you no numbers. Dun, dun, dun. I want to end up with x by itself, so where should I start? Get rid of the root. Why?
to be squared.
I got to get rid of that root. So if square root gets rid of a squared, what gets rid of a square root? If I square that side, what happens to the other side? Squared. So A squared equals no, Luke, 2x plus 4.
Okay.
Because squaring gets only rid of the root. Now what?
Oh, so you're just moving it from side to side.
Darn tootin', I'm just moving it from side to side. You're going to divide by 2 first?
I don't know. I'm thinking polynomials.
You're going to get rid of the 4 because we're doing algebra. A squared minus 4 equals 2x. Now what? Divide by 2. A squared minus 4 over 2 equals x. Can you solve it? You can't do anything more. Why? Because I have 2 unknowns. If I tell you what x is, you could tell me what a is. If I told you what a is, you could tell me what x is.
You just want us to put these things together.
Yes.
Cool.
And finally, the last thing you need to be good at in algebra before we move on to trig are be able to solve those. How do I solve that? I multiply both sides by 4. And x equals what?
Oh, that's easy.
X equals what? 92. How do I do this side? Now, stop for a moment. Every single one of you has been given a shortcut for solving these. Every single one of you can figure that out. Right? Use your brain. The x here was in the numerator spot, so I multiplied. The x here is in the denominator spot, so I should divide. That's the shortcut, right? The shortcut is what you just memorize. It's 60 divided by 5 equals x, which is 12. Right? But that shortcut comes from the algebra you already know. If I need to get x by itself, it can't be on the denominator spot, can it? No, because if x is in the denominator spot, it's not by itself. It's 1 over x, isn't it? So how would I get x out of the denominator spot? I multiply both sides by x. The x's cancel. 60 equals 5x. Divide both sides by 5. X equals 12. This is why this shortcut works. I need you to know that. Because you guys have been given too many shortcuts along the way, and you don't actually know what is happening. Everybody cool? All right, it is 9:21. Now listen to me. You are going to remember those couple of pages we skipped?
Oh, word. That's cool.
38, 39, and I think we skipped 40. It's 4 questions, yeah? 10 minutes to work on them now. That's your homework. Tomorrow, you have a quiz. We are going to mark these 4 questions, and you are going to do the first assignment for marks for me. You're going to start it tomorrow. You're going to finish it tomorrow night for homework. We're going to mark it for marks Thursday. Everybody understand? So tonight, you are working on pages, well, now and tonight, 38, 39, and 40. And they are trickier than you think, but easy if you pay attention to what is going on. Right? That's the hint. Do not dive in head first, especially the first question because it's a swimming pool question. Do not dive in head first. Come up with a plan of attack first. You guys are block B. You were doing 38 to 40. 38 to 40. Quiz 2 on Woden's Day.
On what?
Woden's Day.
What is that?
Wednesday, because the name of our days during the week
I thought it was
are named after Norse gods for some strange reason, except for Monday. I don't know why. And then the weekends are named after Roman gods. I don't know why.
Because English is weird.
It makes no sense. But it is true. Wednesday is Woden's Day, which is Odin's Day, who is Anthony Hopkins. See what I did there?
Is that like an active place?
Yeah, in the Thor movies. the old guy, who you might know better as, you won't know him better as this. You might know him better as the killer in Silence of the Lambs. Yes. And that's all you need to do for tonight.
On Friday, can I hand out candy for those who are wearing?
You knock yourself out, sister. You do whatever you need to do. Remember, there is a little bit of a trick to every one of these questions. Be careful.
Alright, I'm gonna have to pull up the chairs.
Oh, are you?
I'm gonna be here a while. My dad's like, oh, looks like you did all of them right. Check. I did all of them right. So I keep just getting 201 pi inches.
It is 201.
Oh, it is?
Good gravy, man.
Okay.
I think it's 201. Oh, it's 210?
Okay. I keep getting 201. Is that because... So right here, I just took away from that.
For volume or surface
This
area?
is
Which
surface
one?
area.
Okay. So,
What I did, I calculated that, and then I added...
is that supposed to be an R? Oh, that's the 9.
Yeah. So
So
then I
pi
started-
r squared plus pi 915
Because I figured
plus
out I was 15.
pi 3 squared.
I was getting this right here.
Yeah, but then you got to subtract the pi rs.
It's not. It's
Minus pi rs. Oh, you have... Is that what I forgot to do?
Most likely. Oh, you got it. No, see, you've subtracted pi r squared and pi rs.
Okay.
You added pi r squared, then you
So I'm
subtracted
taking
pi
away
r
this
squared.
right here.
Yeah, you're only taking away the slanty part. You're not taking apart the circle.
Okay, so we don't take away pi r squared. Oh, that's
You
right.
just take away the 15.
Okay.
So
do that
225
again.
minus 50. No, you don't need to. 225 pi minus 15 pi is 210 pi.
Yeah, there you go. Alright, that's all I did. I'm just making it too complicated. Then for volume, I just don't know.
You're just removing volume.
Yeah.
If there was no cutout square, it would be pi r squared times h
Times squared.
times the height, which is 12,
12.
divided by 3.
So that would equal
That's
pi
the whole
81
thing.
times 12. That would be 12 times 81
you know what I mean?
divided by 3, which would give us
324 pi. And then you're cutting off the top little cone.
which is 3 pi r squared plus times the height, which is cut off 4 inches. That's right. So 324 pi. Do I need to write it again?
Oh, for yours, I think you have to
3 squared.
calculate what you have in bracket first, and then you have to make it.
I don't know, but where do I get the fraction from? Like, where's the button for fraction?
Forgot to divide by 3.
Here?
No, here. You're doing the volume of a cone.
Do you get this equals this?
So 9 times 4 is 36 pi divided by 3 is
6 pi divided by 3, 36 divided by 3 is 12, so it's
324 pi minus 12
4
pi.
pi minus 12.
Oh, not for.
There we go. So that's 312.
Because that's the one I went through.
Oh, I've never seen the
So that would be
has fraction.
That was so.
And I just want to check this one. I did it and it seems
Yes.
right. That one's good. Yeah, I guess I'll just see the other one then.
Okay then. I'll be right here minding my business.
Cool.
Then you
Because they also had a dumb smart button. If you press it, it would show you the number not in fractions, but in like I don't know.
You had a teacher that called the SD button dumb smart button.
That's so that we remembered.
I assume the dumb way is the decimal and the smart way is the fraction.
No, it was just like to convert. Like she told us like.
I
that's one-
understand that. But she called it the SD button, the smart dumb button.
Something along those lines. It was in German. I don't remember. But it was a really nice calculator because it had like brackets and like
The
fractions.
problem is calling. Never mind.